ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ। ਆਈ ਹੋਪ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਠੀਕ ਠਾਕ ਹੋਵੋਗੇ। ਮੈਂ ਰੈਡੀ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਆਪਣੀ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੀ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਆਪਾਂ ਟਾਈਮਰ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸੈੱਟ। ਸੋ ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਟਾਈਮਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਰੈਡੀ ਕਰਤਾ। ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੈਸਨ 2 ਆ ਬੁੱਕ ਦਾ ਪਾਰਟ 2, ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਪੜ੍ਹਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇਰੀ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਬੁੱਕ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ। ਰੂਲ 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Why won't you just take your damn pills? Imagine that 100 people are prescribed a drug. Consider what happens next. One third of them won't fill the prescription. Half of the remaining 60, half of the remaining 67 will fill it but won't take the medicine correctly. They'll miss the doses. They'll quit taking it early. They might know it, they might not even take it all. Physicians, pharmacists tend to blame such patients for their non compliance, inaction, and error. You can lead a horse to water, they reason. Psychologists tend to take a dim view of such judgments. We are trained to assume that the failure of patients to follow professional advice is the fault of the practitioner, not the patient. We believe the healthcare provider has a responsibility to proffer. What is proffer? PROFFER. Responsibility to proffer advice that will be followed, offer interventions that will be respected, plan with the patient or client until the desired result is achieved, and follow up to ensure that everything is going correctly. This is just one of the many things that make psychologists so wonderful. Of course, we have the luxury of time with our clients, unlike other more beleaguered. What is beleaguered? Beleaguered professionals who wonder why sick people won't take the medication. What's wrong with them? Don't they want to get better? Here's something worse. Imagine that someone receives an organ transplant. Imagine it's a kidney. Transplant typically occurs only after a long period of anxious waiting on the part of the recipients. Only a minority of people donate organs when they die, and even fewer when they are still alive. Only a small number of donated organs are a good match for any hopeful recipient. This means that the typical kidney transplantee has been undergoing dialysis, the only alternative for years. Dialysis involves passing all the patient's blood out of his or her body through a machine and back in. It is an unlikely and miraculous treatment, so that's all good, but it's not pleasant. It must happen 5 to 7 times a week for 8 hours a time. It should happen every time the patient sleeps. That's too much. No one wants to stay on dialysis. Now, one of the complications of transplantation is rejection. Your body does not like when parts of someone's someone else's body are stitched into it. Your immune system will attack and destroy such foreign elements, even when they are crucial to your survival. To stop this from happening, you must take anti-rejection in anti-rejection drugs which weaken immunity. decreasing your susceptibility to infectious disease. Most people are happy to accept the trade off. Recipients of transplants will suffer the effects of organ rejection despite the existence and utility of these drugs. It's not because the drugs fail, although they sometimes do. It's more often because those prescribed drugs do not take them. This beggars belief. It is seriously not good to have your kidneys fail. Dialysis is no picnic. Transplantation surgery occurs after long waiting at high risk and great expense. To lose all that because you don't take your medication, how could people do that to themselves? How could this possibly be? It's complicated. To be fair, many people who receive a transplanted organ are isolated or beset. What is beset? By multiple physical health problems, to say nothing of problems associated with unemployment or family crisis. They may be cognitively impaired. What is cognitively? Or depressed. They may not entirely trust their doctor or understand the necessity of the medication. Maybe they can barely afford the drugs and ration them. What is ration them? Ration. Desperately and unproductively. But, and this is the amazing thing, imagine that it isn't you who feels sick, it's your dog. So you take him to the vet gives you a prescription. What happens then? You have just as many reasons to distrust a vet as a doctor. Furthermore, if you cared so little for your pet that you weren't concerned with what improper, substandard, or error ridden prescription he might be given, you wouldn't have taken him to the vet in the first place. Thus, you care. Your actions prove it. Your actions prove it. In fact, on average, you care more. People are better at filling and properly administering prescription medication to their pets than to themselves. That's not good. Even from your pet's perspective, it's not good. Your pet probably loves you and would be happier if you took your medication. It is difficult to conclude anything from this set of facts except that people appear to love their dogs, cats, ferrets, what is ferrets, and birds, and maybe even their lizards more than themselves. How horrible is this? How horrible is that? How much shame must exist for something like that to be true? What could it be about people that makes them prefer their pets to themselves? It was an ancient story in the book of Genesis, the first book in the Old Testament, that helped me find an answer to that perplexing question. The oldest story and the nature of the world. Two stories of creation from two different Middle Eastern sources appear to be woven together in the Genesis account. In the chronologically, in the chronologically first but historically more recent account, known as the priestly, God created the cosmos using his divine word, speaking light, water, and land into existence, following that with plants and the heavenly bodies. Then he created birds and animals and fish, again employing speech, and ended with man, male and female, both somehow formed in his image. That all happens in Genesis 1. In the second, older Jewish version, we find another origin account. involving Adam and Eve, where the details of creation differ somewhat, as well as the stories of Cain and Abel, Noah and the Tower of Babel. That is Genesis 2 to 2nd. To understand Genesis 1, the priestly story with its with its assistance with its insistence on speech as the fundamental creative force, it is first necessary to few fundamental ancient assumptions, review a few fundamental ancient ancient assumptions. These are markedly different in type and intent from the assumptions of science, which are, historically speaking, quite novel. Scientific truths we made explicit. What is explicit? A mere 500 years ago, with the work of Francis Bacon, Rene Descartes, and Isaac Newton, in whatever manner our forebears, what is forebears, viewed the world prior to that, it was not through a scientific lens any more than they could view the moon and stars through the glass lenses of the equally recent telescope. Because we are so scientific now and so detrimented, determinedly determinedly materialistic, it is very difficult for us even to understand that other ways of seeing can and do exist. But those who existed during the distant time in which the what is epics? Foundational epics of our culture emerged were much more concerned with the actions that dictated survival and with interpreting the world in a manner commensurate commensurate with that goal than with anything approximating what we now understand as objective truth. Before the dawn of the scientific worldview, reality was constructed differently. Being was understood as a place of action, not a place of things. It was understood as something more akin, what is akin? More akin to story or drama. That story or drama was lived, subjective experience as it manifested itself moment to moment in the consciousness of every living person. It was something similar to the stories we tell each other about our lives and their personal significance, something similar to the happenings that novelists describe when they capture existence in the pages of their books. It was something similar to the stories we tell each other about our lives and their personal significance, something similar to the happenings that novelists describe when they capture existence in the pages of their books. Subjective experience that includes familiar objects such as trees and clouds, primarily objective in their existence, but also and more importantly, such things as actions and dreams, as well as hunger, thirst, and pain. It is such things experienced personally that are the most fundamental elements of human life from the archaic dramatic perspective, and they are not easily reducible to the detached and objective even by modern even by modern reductionists, even by modern reductionists. ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣਾ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਪੂਰਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਪਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਪੈਰਾਗ੍ਰਾਫ ਪੂਰਾ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ. Materialist mind, take pain for example, subjective pain. That's something so real, no argument can stand against it. Everyone acts as if their pain is real, ultimately, finally real. Pain matters more than matter matters. It is for this reason I believe that so many of the world's traditions regard the suffering attendant upon existence. Word is attendant upon existence as the irreducible truth of being. ਸੋ ਆਪਣੀ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੀ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਪੂਰੀ, ਤੇ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਟਾਪ. ਕੱਲ ਮਿਲਾਂਗੇ ਜੀ ਅਗਲੇ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੀ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ. ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ.